Nous You all know the target. Shiva's dominant. And only the dominant.
How do we even know the girl will be among us?
Our kind do not question orders. We follow them.
Sergeant, let's summon their icon.
Icon? That thing's a bloody mountain.
Our foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily. This will be a bitter fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this. Come, Joshua. Your father will be expecting us.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you not pledge your sword to our cause?
What does it matter? It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
So, I sent in the Dragoons. Imperial Vipers. Do they really mean to invade us?
It's the Archduke's son.
The Phoenix.
Joshua! Stop this!
Second icon of fire. But that's impossible. The legacy of the crystals. Has shaped our history. For long enough. I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
Who are we? What are the dominants? The power we wield. It wears away at our very being. It breaks us. It unmakes us. That its immaculate aspect might reveal itself. The icon.
There's going to be another war, isn't there?
Every day we delay brings us closer to disaster. We must move now.
The chaos he would wreak would sweep all of Valisthea into the abyss.
I unite the dominants, that we may bring an end to the strife, and found a new order to see us unto tomorrow.
If I take the field, Our dew will shake the island to its foundations.
Losses, it is true. Yet for every citizen who falls, another can be bred. For every home that burns, another can be built. The Empire will live on.
Awaken, child of fate. Awaken, Ifrit.
It has been 1,500 years since the fall of our forebears. And Valisthea has been slowly dying. Ever since.
Not much further now.
But we're in the middle of the Deadlands.
The blight sucked this place dry. Meaning no trees, no birds, and no magic.
Darkness spreads as day gives way to twilight. The Mother's flame now all but a flicker.
We cannot live without the blessing of the crystals. And the crystals work their magic through us. You have been blessed, Joshua.
But who shall claim their fading light? The Grand Duchy of Rosaria, bastion of tradition.
At the very least, we must secure Drake's breath.
The Holy Empire of San Brek, where ambition is divine.
The Imperial banner shall fly over every city in storm. All shall bow before their emperor.
The Dalmekian Republic, whose fortunes shift with the desert sands.
And what of our wise rulers? Goaded into war without any thought as to what chaos it might reap.
The Iron Kingdom, forged in faith and fear.
Their souls were sullied with the stain of ether. I merely cleansed them of their corruption.
Or the Kingdom of Waloed, indomitable in its isolation.
The dark swallows more of the realm with each passing day. And as the fringes fade, the people flock to the mother crystals.
From a single spark, will the land ignite? In the year 860, the Imperial army will march upon Rosaria. And from the slaughter shall a new shadow rise. Fall upon the dominants, painting their destinies black as night.
Our ability to summon beasts of great might should command respect, but instead has left us outcasts.
And so I became their puppet. What makes them think they have the right to use us? To leave us to die when our bodies are spent?
I'll crush him! Flay him!
shall bow to me!
Very well. Come then. Show us the strength of your will.
Rise, ye crownless kings. A reckoning is upon you. A war of the icons.
Take Joshua and get to safety.
I'm not going without you.
I'm going to hold the enemy here while you make your escape.
Your Highness! Run! No!
Clive!
Joshua!
Revenge is a weapon. I sometimes wonder if I am controlling it, or if it's controlling me. No matter how bitter the truth that awaits me, I will press on. Good boy.
What do we do?
The usual. 13 years I've waited for this chance. I won't be dying today.
Come to me, Ifrit!
By the crystal can purge our star of its scourge.
How many must die before you are satisfied?
I have seen many deaths, but now I'm only looking forward to one. And then I can rest.
He will take responsibility, you know.
As must we all.
May the gods forgive me.
ノクティス様も光が見えるんですね。
俺が何を知っているのか、俺自身も知らないんだ。
私は行かなくてはなりません。
忘れることなんかできないさ。
私のことなど気にせず、自由に生きてください。
疑いなく信じていた世界は常に変化し、今終わる。こうでなければならないなどというものは本来この世にない。
どうした？食べないのか？
美味しくないよ。
でもそんなことを言うな。料理人が仕事を失う。
ルシスの血は根絶やしにすればいい。
なんだかめんどくさいことになってきたな。
ノクト、とにかく城へ行こう。奴らの目的は何なんだ？やはりクリスタルだと思う。ニフルハイブはこれまでにもソルハイブ、テネブラへアコルドのクリスタルを手に入れようと戦争を起こしてる。親父、逃げたりらしいぞ。ああ、合流を急ごう。おい、気ぃつけろよ。奴ら本気で殺しに来てるみたいだぞ。
こうなっては戦闘は避けられんか。
もともと避ける気なんてなかったけどな。
ノクト、どこまで行け。ノクト、暴れると敵を引きつけてしまうぞ。
大丈夫だ、強いからな。
目的はクリスタルか。言わずともお分かりのはずだ。この世界に残された最後のクリスタル。
奴らはクリスタルを運び出すつもりだろう。その前に何としてもクリスタルを取り戻す。
ルシスの制圧を完了させる。それと王子を、レギスの息子を見つけたら始末しろ。
知りたいのか。まあ、重いぞ。
これが対をなす幻想。
いや、世界は常に変化する。15番目だ。
How do you guys feel about Asif making a level for the game? Do you feel betrayed, abandoned, bewildered, jealous?
Sure.
This breaks a lot of rules. The gods must be hungry. Asif Siddiqui.
I have not done this before, ever.
Man, we made a video game, you guys.
Yeah. Luckily, Compton is completely in turnaround at this point, right?
Compton. The idea now is to actually take the gods must be hungry as a core concept, and that's going to be the base of the Compton level.
Asif has sort of been interning under Ryan.
Just like learning like basic white boxing stuff and placing assets and things like that. That just kept evolving over the months, and I started doing little parts of the real world in the game. Yeah, just a bunch of small tasks that eventually like ballooned to the point where I was making content that would eventually ship in the game.
So we're here at the last brain, and time is tight.
So Zach sort of pulled me aside and asked how I would feel about doing one of the brain levels, and it would basically be The Gods Must Be Hungry.
And so when it was suggested, like, let's bring that in as a level and let Asif make it, I was like, that makes so much sense. It's a great setup for the ideas. And also, Asif's always been, you know, we'll do these interviews or he'll watch a team meeting and he'll be sitting there back there taking notes. And then I'll get this email after the meeting saying, here's some ideas.
He sends me some drawings, like incognito sometimes, about meetings. Do you know this? Oh, he does.
Like everyone who like is like an avid consumer of something wants to like, or entertains the idea of like making content within that medium. Like it's been the same for us for all these years. Like even before we got into like doing game documentary stuff, like we all grew up watching movies and like we wanted to make a movie, and then we started making documentaries about the chip music scene, and then we all started writing chip music. And I think it's just a natural thing that happens. Like the more and more you get like deep into covering something and learning more about it and see how other people create stuff in that medium, like makes you just want to do it more and more. So yeah, I would say that pretty much like as soon as like we started working here and like covering Double Fine in 2012, like it just became more and more appealing to like work on games. And I definitely wasn't alone in that. Like the three of us like talked about game ideas for forever.
And I think some people can't stop making up ideas and stuff like that. And you can see, you know, Asif kind of pushing against that and wanting to share those ideas. And I think that it was great to let him have that opportunity to now do it in the level.
Cool. You know, I very well may not get an opportunity like this. So like, let me just say yes and worry about being scared later.
So we're gonna have Asif, because that was his Amnesia Fortnite level or project. He's gonna work on that with Will and Emily.
Excuse me.
Asif.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's our new designer.
I don't know where they found him.
Yeah. So now we're on Team Compton. It's Asif, me, and Will. And we're trying to figure out the last of the Psychic 7 brain we go into.
You seem to work with Emily a lot too, and how has your sort of professional relationship developed over the course of this project? You seem to always be on the same teams, and
yeah.
Will, you don't drive me crazy.
Cool.
It happens. It's life. It's called collaboration. Sometimes people drive people crazy.
What about that guy Will, who
That guy? He's super easy to work with, and we can just go, and just it works.
It just works, and that's just really awesome, you know? Like, I don't think I've had any disagreements with Emily, so it's really fortunate that we started out on the same team, and now we can continue.
Yeah. Do you want a cookie?
I want a cookie.
Let's go get a cookie. No cookie? Okay. They're poison cookies.
Oh, God. Where are these cookies?
Wow!
Those are big old cookies. Big cookie. You got the weird one.
Cookie time.
No. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
We were trying to figure out the story of Compton Pool.
So Compton's big problem. This is actually the biggest, your biggest problem as well. We don't really know what his mental condition is. Stuff that we've talked about before is that he can talk to animals. He's Dogen's granddad. He's one of the original Psychic 7. He's very close friends with Cassie. Cassie and him had sort of a bond. And you get the brainstorm power inside his mind.
Yeah, they really focus on the animation there.
Hello. How's it going, you guys?
Oh, now I remember. Okay.
It still needs to be a cooking game, and we're doing it, and it's going to be rad.
It's going to be awesome.
Treating this as an analog for like how he feels about the Psychonauts becoming like a government agency, right? Because he initially joined for the whole mind expansion thing, and maybe that's how he felt about cooking in general. That was like his way of like communicating with people, because he's not good at doing that. And then the game show being like grafted on top of that.
He got into cooking because he's not.
Oh, I was thinking that's just his way of like communicating or like relaying with other people, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting how it works out. Yeah. Well, everyone has to make it personal in some way. But yes, thanks, guys.
It's awesome. Don't forget deep frying. It can be high pressure, and he just wants to do a good job, so he's got a good team to work with.
There are a lot of people touching it, and like, you don't want to be the person that like drops the thing you're carrying, right? Or like your corner of it. So, in that sense, like I feel a lot of responsibility. Try not to let anyone down, basically.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to let everything happen, but like we were originally talking about how like Compton needed to be a smaller level. Just saying. Yeah.
There is pressure to do this level a lot faster than the others, because I mean, and also, they want the level to be small because there's a lot of large levels, and we can't go crazy town because people will die. People will die. Asif is kind of thrown into kind of a tough situation where it's like, no, it's 2 weeks. If you don't figure it out, we gotta start cutting stuff, or it's a little bit more like dire at this point.
I love the whole like game show VHS, and I would really lean in hard to that and do like weird transitions and full screen effects, and it seems like you're already thinking about that way. I know you guys had ideas for like commercial breaks and like live action and like do a theme song and like really embrace that. Current Compton idea, have you seen?
I haven't seen it in a couple days.
It's gonna be amazing.
And I don't know what these guys are gonna say. We'll see. We'll see on Monday. I'm gonna like present that stuff up there, and they'll be like, "Why isn't this and this and this and this in there?" And I'm going, "Because it doesn't work together." But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Drink it in water. Okay. So first, click. It's like staticky. And then you hear a little ding, record, and there's dramatic soap opera music. Channel 3, Cassie's like, "Why didn't you come?" Dramatic soap opera music. "Because, my dear, I had burns in my ears at the time." Channel 4, "Ooh, scary music, Jen." All right. And welcome. I'm your host, Ford Cruller, and this is Temporary Game Show Title. Yay! And Ford explains the rules. Now, let me introduce our first contestant. Hello, young man, what's your name? Raz. You abandoned your family to go to the psychic summer camp without their knowledge. How did that make Frazee feel? A, horrible. B, scared. C, awful. D, all of the above. Could get you on to the next round.
So is there still a cooking show?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's just what happens in between.
Those are the physical challenge things. That's like the thing you compete in.
Storyboard, you're like, and cooking.
Cooking.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not losing the cooking show, I really like the cooking show.
Yeah. I was thinking, we were looking at, hold on, let me show you. Like the cooking.
Often something gets approved. People have a moment where they all are together and like, that's a great idea. And then you don't check in, and you check in like in a couple of weeks, and it's something totally else. You're like, what is this thing that you're doing now? Because we approved this other thing. It was a great idea. And like, well, actually try to work on it. We just changed it to this other thing. It's like, well, just try to remember the feeling we had that made that work sense. And is it not valid? Like, did you learn something that made that prove that wasn't going to work? It's like, no, we just kind of moved into this other thing. It's like, what? Don't let that go for no reason. Like, if you have a good reason, then you should abandon it. But if like, try and remember what you liked about that thing and why you got excited about it, and try and keep that alive. I mean, like the cooking show thing definitely seemed to strengthen his problem of being overwhelmed and being overstimulated by stuff. That's how I thought of it. Did you ever talk about that before?
That was one of the things. It wasn't.
I was taking it more in the direction of he's sort of reliving, with the recording and reliving like sort of past things, repeating. You know how you do that thing in your mind where you repeat like, oh God, why did I do that?
I don't know. I really like the TV stuff. I don't think it would actually be. I think it makes for a nice frame because the game show stuff is so frenetic.
It's just that I worry about diluting what you're kind of parroting, because if it's like a cooking, if it's Iron Chef, is like we're parroting this like over-the-top cooking show, and then if you add in it's also the Newlyweds, or Jeopardy, you start to kind of water down a little bit what the parody is of, and it's a less clear idea.
You mean like the trivia thing too?
Yeah. Is that trivia thing like a thing the player's doing? They're answering trivia questions?
Yeah, it was meant to be like a dialogue tree interaction, and it's sort of your only opportunity for like getting more story or like other characters in the level.
Yeah, the trivia thing, I'm not saying don't do the trivia thing. I'm just, I like the cooking show thing. That's what we decided why we're going to do this, right? We're like Gods Must Be Hungry and wanted that to be.
Cool, that sounds good.
Cool, all right, is that it?
Thanks, guys.
I'm always the first one to run out of the meeting room, but is anyone else? There goes Jeff. All right, okay, good.
Play T1 Zaxby.
I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's totally offensive.
Compton's been a little difficult with the food and animals.
I know.
Have to have Cassie and backstory. I don't know.
And brainstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, like, the idea was that we would save a bunch of concept time by already having this idea and just, like, plopping it straight into the game. But the problem is that there are all these other considerations that we have for, like, things about the character that have already been decided. And then there's also a power that's kind of already figured out that we need to introduce in this level. And all of these things don't necessarily fit in. They don't slot in perfectly with The Gods Must Be Hungry, basically, is what the problem is. So we're just trying to figure that out.
It's perfect, Asif. You like wrote it and like look back and then you're like, how am I gonna do this?
Is there any way we can move prototyping of the brainstorming power up? Because I know you had talked about doing some more tinkering with that and like what it is so that it can come from that and how it functions.
We should at least be able to have those discussions.
It's weird in a way, like, in the current state, because the powers are always evolving and they get retooled and like sometimes completely changed based on what the needs of the level are.
All right, and brainstorm.
Goats.
Yeah. So each lightning strike will scramble it into something else, and then if you hit it, oh god.
It's supposed to, so they sort of cycle through the things they can scramble into, and then if they take any damage at all, you can lock them into that form. And that's something that I think the Constantine is going to be using for puzzles there, where you're transforming different food ingredients into different stuff and using them, and be able to sort of swap through these spaces.
Yeah, I did something really bad.
In this case, in its current form, the power that we're supposed to be basing this level around, or at least introducing to Raz in this level, is completely like, antithetical to like the gameplay of Gods Must Be Hungry. You need a specific outcome, and this like just generates a bunch of random outcomes right now. But some early things I was playing around with Brainstorm was creating opportunity and danger at the same time. So you want to open that little case to get the challenge marker in there, but now you've made the floor dangerous. So you have to be a little bit more careful getting over there.
So that's just sort of like thematically embracing the random nature of Brainstorm by having it turn on stuff that's like both good and bad or unpredictable. That all seems super cool.
The way that Brainstorm is used in these cases is there is a switch that you can only press with Brainstorm. But it doesn't feel like you're using Brainstorm in a sort of like psychic way.
Yeah.
It's just, here's the way that I press this button.
Yeah, it's just a shock switch, basically.
Is there a world where we don't have Brainstorm?
Sure. I don't know. Will, Emily? What do you think?
This power doesn't really fit with this character, guys. But that's not really my my place.
Excuse me? You say hey diddle diddle?
Hey diddle diddle, put the wheel in the middle. So where are you guys at now? What is the structure like as you see it?
Just sort of going through all these like strange, like nonsense game show to sort of reinforce the like overwhelmed feeling of it just like changing.
You know, I don't want to break my own rule about not worrying during brainstorming at all, but I think like a lot of this is giving me a very strong Hollis vibe though. Like it's very similar to Hollis, like a wheel of fortune. That being really Vegas-y looking. That's the problem with if you make it game show world, it's going to look like Vegas world.
That's also another major constraint is like, we now have all the other levels kind of figured out. So like now this level can't necessarily step on things that other levels have done, right?
It just feels like it's really crowded territory in this one particular game to like do a real showy game show world. To like first like focus on like what is the environment now besides the arena? Is it the arena? Is it such a big arena that it's like a town, or is it a small arena and there's stuff outside of the arena that you live in, or what is the setting for the game?
Focus to the arena is better than like expanding it out into like an arena town, I guess, for me, because like you want to be able to like see all the options.
Yeah, but if you just have the whole level set in one big bowl, I feel like you're really exploring it all.
Yeah, we're also sort of fighting that it's supposed to be one of the smallest levels, you know? So
I didn't know that. It's supposed to be one of the smallest
levels?
That was part
oh, I made that one big bowl thing. It's starting to sound good then.
I think the three of us will
just want to have an
come up with
aesthetic.
yeah.
Just a nameable aesthetic.
Sure.
A nameable location. All right, you guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Cool.
We'll get out of your office and talk about stuff.
I kind of brainstormed out. So brainstorming feels like doing a ton of work without doing any work. So you still have the feeling that you did no work, but you still just mentally sat there and like just kind of ground away at this like thing, this ethereal thing with all these floating pieces, and you're like, how do they all fit together? And you leave those meetings just exhausted.
And is the brainstorming phase starting to eat into the production phase in terms of those 12 weeks?
It is, yeah. Technically should have started on Monday with that, but I don't think anyone has done that yet on any team, so.
But no, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Bristol? I feel like we followed Peter Chan's thing. Like,
yeah, which we didn't have the advantage of this time around, so. We've seen it like happen to everybody else, and I mean, really the only difference is that like I'm just, you know, a participant versus an informed observer, I guess. For as much like stuff as I've helped out with, you know, whatever I did on AF, that doesn't necessarily like prepare you for like level design at this scope, basically, with like this big of a project and this many different considerations. So this is definitely like a whole new challenge for me at this point.
I think Asif's freaking out a little bit. Like, he's doing a very good job, but I feel his pressure a little bit. I sense it. I sense it off his aura. But he's doing fabulous. He's great.
But I'm just always a little lost about where we are, like what problem we're trying to solve, because at various points it's all seemed fine to me, but it seems like it's still kind of flipping around as far as the ideas go.
I think it's right now, like the way that it is there's like 5 ideas and there's lots of things that people think about that solve for 4 of those ideas, and then it's like, but what about this thing? It's like, I don't really know how that fits. And so there's a bunch of different versions of it that seem like they work together, but they don't necessarily do all of these things.
Yeah. So the God thing is a big question mark, this big like looming thing that we don't even know what it would be.
Yeah.
And it's also an additional thing of like, I feel like the game show or whatever's going on should be overwhelming, not this thing that's coming.
But the God is the game show, and it seems like that's just a writing problem of figuring out like what does that God represent, but just the God is the driving force that makes the game show tense. So they are the same thing to me. This thing that you have to please, and it adds to that feeling of helplessness of being a tiny thing, and the tiny thing in the giant kitchen because the God is giant, you know.
I mean, it could be giant kitchen theme, but it seems straightforward to me.
It's just a flooded kitchen instead. It's just a bunch of messy stuff
Flooded
around.
kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally moving in an entirely different direction, but.
Yeah. I mean, I like that better than just a straightforward clean kitchen, which would be like every other game, every other cooking game.
He's incontinent. It's his problem.
He's incontinent.
That's his problem. You have to go into his brain and solve his incontinence.
Gross. That's
It's a gastronaut's
disgusting.
task.
Yeah.
Bob
It's like,
Seeslove.
you got to bring in the gastronauts. You figured out where you're going to put them in the plot yet? Where you were putting the gastronauts?
Could we still create an overwhelming game show set without like some of these specific shapes we associate with older shows?
But so this is the path that I'm confused about because like the high pressure cooking show is overwhelming and it works. Why are we talking about moving down another path? Like what's wrong with it? And
the game show was something we tried to like preserve for a long time. There has to be like characters and story elements and exploration and dialogue trees and like puzzles and all that kind of stuff, right? Like these are the expectations that all of the levels have. So it was a way to like bring more of that stuff in.
Claymation.
There's the Play-Doh
Just
level
stop motion.
where everything's made of Play-Doh.
where's the Play-Doh level?
That's the one we're about to make for this.
Yeah, the big advantage of Play-Doh is all the things becomes Play-Doh Fun Factory, and then you're molding all the stuff.
You trying to make a fake food meal for a big Play-Doh god?
Oh, look how cute
That's
that
pretty
is.
cute.
Yeah, isn't it?
We could do that.
I mean, that would be satisfying to do, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Play. Very satisfying video.
Where did you have that?
Are you trying to please giant animals? Is that what the gods are? The gods are giant, ridiculously large squirrels and puppies and kittens. It's a giant rampaging kitten. Have a giant 30-foot tall goat that you're cooking for.
That's pretty good. Can that just be the skybox, a bunch of animals watching you through a little hole?
yeah.
I like having those two worlds.
backstory.
I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a theme.
That's a fine aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. It feels a little bit more tied into his character.
If this were just a big, giant kitchen, and there were some fussy goats upstairs who were yelling at you the whole time.
There we go. And they talk to you. They're NPCs, but they're still dead. Let me give you a
Like
quest.
just the mouth moves and one creepy eye.
And you think that's what's happening, and then all the maggots that are making it move come out of the
Wonka burning love.
Wonka burning love.
Oh.
There you go, frog riding a squirrel.
Yeah.
Just like in real life.
Take that, animals. Get all uppity with us. We're like, yep. Well, you pretty much nailed it. Why don't you type all that into the level and press play and see what happens?
It's good. It's a lot of good stuff to think about there.
Yeah. All right, that was my last idea.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Thank you guys.
Good luck.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
That was a lot, but there's something interesting in there. I think that can be glommed onto. I kind of actually want to like watch this footage again and try and process it. How do you feel about cooking a meal for a bunch of fancy little animals, Greg?
I like if it's like a
sounds wonderful.
big goat with its face.
This is the character's obsessed with animals and also cooking food.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy. Fun.
I notice in these meetings, Asif like melts.
Slowly falls
You
over.
slowly melt when your brain is like
Yeah.
burning out.
It's what happened every time I was a kid, like going out with my parents somewhere. I would
And
just
you're
like slowly like fall over and then sleep in a booth.
You know when your parents come pick you up from something and then they start talking?
Yes.
And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
no.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
were leaving.
It's the worst. No. And then they talk at the doorway for like another 20 minutes
And now
while
I'm,
you're like,
I'm thinking back to that. I'm like, that was the only time I got to talk to people. Like,
I know, it's so sad. And you're like, oh, come on, Mom. Dad,
cartoons
what
are
are
on.
you doing?
okay, I know this doesn't quite help us get to like a specific aesthetic yet, but I really do like, to answer your question, I really do like the whole animals waiting for a meal thing.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about feeding animals, like I think that's really cool. Because I like the feeling of like, you're standing at this point and this is where all the ingredients are, and then you're handed down some order and it's like, cool, I know I need to grab this ingredient, and go to that station, and that station. Like, if
Yeah,
that is the,
that
like the
sounds
player
clear.
loop, you know,
Sure.
I think that's pretty good. Okay, do you guys feel good about just like taking out the TV stuff and then replacing it with like, these are what these animals want to eat?
Yeah.
Go make them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Mom, this way. I think I saw Santa Claus in here. Merry Christmas. Open your presents. Happy Christmas, everybody. I think mine.
Zach and other new people have been brought in to make the studio run differently.
I don't think her and Zach got along. That's all I know.
I will always be the game's stepdad.
I'm like afraid to talk to Zach.
He's trying. I know he's trying.
Process on the team and how we work together.
There's pretty consistent complaints that the game is not psychonautical enough right now. It's like, what is this? Why did that meeting get so tense? And it turns out like there's a lot of stuff that people aren't happy about.
We will have a working marker by then.
Alpha is like where everything is represented in the game. And like whatever is not in the game by Alpha theoretically is stuff that we are not going to do in Psychonauts 2. So in some sense, it's between now and December we have to finish the game.
So from here to the end of the year, I think December 21st will be our Alpha milestone. Full of all kinds of exciting things.
I guess we start with Alpha. That's a big deal.
It's a point in the game where you really realize like the ideas of the design team and the level teams are actually feasible.
Sure. Yeah, so just wanted to go through roughly to talk about Alpha for our team, what it's going to mean, what we're going to work on, what the game should be, where the game should be. So the important date to remember here is our soft lock, aka you might also want to refer to that as content or feature complete, December 7th. And you want to get it in.
Yes.
It will live in infamy.
How about
Exactly.
That? That's
yes.
Good.
Yes. It's also Pearl Harbor Day. Yeah. And we'll deliver that December 21st, and then we'll all go have wonderful Christmas vacations, basking in the knowledge that we have delivered the most amazing Alpha of our careers. But at a high level, overall, the game has to be playable from end to end. All the assets are created, proxied, and placed. There's no white box assets anywhere in the game. And all the levels have first pass art and lighting. Bosses, we're still figuring out what the boss schedule looks like. A bunch of the secondary narrative in terms of scripted cutscenes, dialogues, chatters, reaction, vignettes, a bunch of that stuff will probably not be in, and I think design will be spending a lot of time implementing that stuff during Alpha. And then we're gonna have them do another Bob Z reboot just for fun. Just for funsies. Just take another whack at it, see what happens.
I don't like that joke.
Too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon?
What is the thing that dictates, like, do we have a set thing in the schedule or the scope of like, this needs to be a class one?
We have very little time left. Yeah. So our team is moving over to strike teams. So they just kicked off strike teams, dogpiling on the questionable area and the Gristle levels, and they'll just be rolling through the whole game while design furiously works ahead of them.
You and Will are going to work on Gristle, getting it ready for Alpha for 3 weeks. And then you're fucking done. Things
I don't know,
we will have
man.
to make hard calls.
It looks like all of this stuff is pretty much
except for
good, except for the Maligula pedestal and statue.
Yeah.
You guys can talk too. You can tell me that like all of the stuff I'm asking you to get done by Friday is too much.
Oh, this is all before Friday. This Friday.
That's what we do.
I guess we kind of get punted the level, and we get 3 weeks to make it like what it's actually supposed to be. And that seems a little unfair, you know?
There's not a lot of grounding for this, and maybe hopefully putting in a ground and a sky and a horizon line will help that sense of space. But right now you have just no clue where you are.
No, it needs to be done.
Fill geometry holes in barbershop story
Needs
corners.
to be done.
Build trapeze chains.
That's needs today. To be done. Many of these things aren't big deal things. There's just we just need to get to all of them.
Yes.
Just message me if you need any. What the team is mostly struggling with is the total amount of real estate we have to cover in a short amount of time. And that's, I think, the big challenge is how do you hit this much space with this size of a team?
I think the thing that should be realized, though, is that we're in this situation because their designs have taken so long to begin with.
Like we didn't get us here, and like they
well, I think
they set this up for us.
What it comes down to is that they've essentially had a year and a half to work on their particular levels, and we got 5 months to get it to alpha, which is crazy.
All the bickering is not about making it a good game. It's about like making it the best version of the game. So it's gonna be good. I'm curious to see if it'll be great.
I like the framing with the orange. Good.
All the empty tea bottles.
How's it going?
What's all this? There's so much stuff.
There is a lot of stuff now. It's feeling more like there's gamey stuff happening.
I'm not super worried about this from a design standpoint. I'm also not super worried about it from an art standpoint. I think they're going to kick it, right out of the park. Not kick it out of the park. Yeah. That is not the way the phrase goes.
If you're playing kickball, it is.
It is. Yeah. So. Thank you. It was a kickball metaphor. Yeah. But when it comes to trying to hit our December milestone, I want to make sure that we're just aware of where things are going to land so that we feel confident in everybody being able to do their work. Keep making video game level. You having fun?
I am today.
Yeah. Not every day.
Some days are stressful.
Yeah. Don't be stressed on your own. Come find me if you're stressed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
I will.
Good.
We have a ton of stuff. We're still continuing to hurdle through all the art strike teams and just generally getting design working ahead to get those levels ready for art so that when the strike teams jump on those levels, we can just pound through all of that. So that's been sort of picking up speed and improving the game on a daily basis, which is really, really awesome to see. Starting to work on a trailer. So the plan right now is that we will be having a big giant reveal trailer at the Game Awards in December. So we have to have that ready at the end of the year.
Alpha and trailer hitting at the same time.
It's bad timing. Yeah. On a more positive note, that we know when E3 is happening next year, and so we're already planning for that in the next, because that's coming right in the middle of our alpha to beta time, which is going to throw a huge monkey wrench into everything. But
yeah, the plan for alpha and trailer was always going to be shaky.
It feels unfortunate because a lot of this is just it's all one-off work, right? A lot of a lot of effort's gonna have to be put into this.
This shot has not been set up at all. So the camera would be low, very similar, think of the Legolas shot there. So the horizon line would be super low.
Probably want some VFX around Sasha's helmet.
Yeah, there's a few things for this.
This needs more polish on it than we've even put into the main game.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So we haven't even gotten to the experience of having to do that type of polish, which takes a long time.
So ideally, we would be doing this trailer after our alpha push, where we have enough meat on the bone, where we're just doing beta work. But this kind of dropped right as we started alpha.
Hello? Mr. Keeley. Yeah, well, we're making a trailer. We've got scripts. We have shot lists coming together, so it's all happening.
Well, that's great to hear.
Do you think it's worth it to go for the VGAs as a platform for that level of connectivity?
I mean, always, whenever you can get something out in front of people to bring awareness to it that they might not have known the game exists is always good. I mean, Psychonauts has great word of mouth, but I think that as a broad appeal, there's a lot of people who have no clue what this game is. So getting it into something like the VGAs is a big. It's going to be real helpful for us. So
Probably also our publishers will be pretty stoked about the reaction to it. So it's gonna be good.
Yep, because that's Was it Starbreeze or who's involved in it?
Yep, Starbreeze is our publisher.
Of course I do.
He's been here longer. So definitely.
And his thing is like, look, he says, I'm working on a lot of projects right now. I'm not worried about yours. I'm like, I kind of went, really? He's like, no. He's like, the updates you give me every week and the progress I'm seeing happening, he's like, I think you guys are where you need to be. I'm like, okay. All right, cool, good. So we have received a vote of confidence from our publisher today.
Did he say we could fall behind a little more than we have?
Well, honestly, they could probably be like, yeah, whatever. I mean, we're not going to pay you any more money past this date. But if you guys want to be late, be our guest.
Your funeral.
That's really their attitude. Is oh, you guys want to push your alpha out 4 months? That's fine. We're not going to pay for it, but I mean, go nuts. That's the deal we had. So there's good and bad here.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to just bring the quarry forward, yeah? I don't think we have a choice.
I need that shot of that quarry for 3 seconds or whatever it is. We'll be running around here like everyone's screaming, going, oh my God, Jeff Keighley wants his trailer and we got shit.
Yeah, and then clippers come down from the top and cut away a path that you then climb up, and there's like clippers patrolling along that path that you have to avoid.
Oh, that's good. Some people did some logging today after I sent my email. I like that. My email of guilt goes out and it goes pew. Not much more to say about this than usual. I feel like, it's always kind of like, right there, we want to be right there. And I go, yeah, we should log our stuff. And we go, yeah, that'd be a good idea. And then, Yeah, so there's only 1 week left, right? So there's 5 days. And this is one of 5 sprints to get to alpha. So we gotta knock this. We have to be hitting like plus 80% of work complete on these things. Ideally like 90%, honestly. But so, 61% of the time elapsed and only 33% of the work getting done. Like, we will have to start simply getting rid of things at some point. So.
I'm in a thing right now, and then come look at it.
At this point, like Tim is writing furiously, and we're basically recording and scratching as fast as Tim can write, and then getting that into the hands of people to start implementing in the gameplay.
I would rather die than wear socks with sandals. That's not the change I was going for.
Is that okay? I'm gonna mail this to you right now. To him.
What do you think about talking to Jack?
Hi. I love Jack so much. He's a perfect human
Is it time
being.
to start talking about actually casting and stuff?
Well, yeah. Would you like to have him be Helmet?
Yes. He's got a song and everything.
What?
And he got a star. Did you see he got a star?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
What
Okay.
about someone mentioned that we hadn't really. I think Elijah still wants to do a
I
part.
love Elijah.
Do you want? Someone was
He's
like,
a
"What if you could do
perfect human
Crystal? Could you
being.
do Crystal?"
So I have questions for you about Bob Zanato. What I would like to know is, so he had trauma and his adaptation to trauma is to self-medicate with alcohol. And how are we going to handle that in a way that doesn't make it like he's a drunk and maybe be hurtful or harmful to people who have experienced that in their lives?
And I think the emphasis on it is we're not even emphasizing it as like a drunk level. It's more showing that he's drinking, but emphasizing it as his breaking connections with people in his past more level. And there's bottles and stuff, and there's images of his personality drowning and being isolated and stuff like that. But it's more about how he cut off these connections with everybody in his life, and that's what's allowed him to kind of slip into a depressed, lonely, drinking existence.
Cool. So this space here, yeah, it looks like it's already been kind of cut down to size. Ladders are cut, so this will be.
Ladders are not cut.
They're not.
Ladders are not cut.
Oh, okay. Ladders are still here. Can we get
the
them
things that are
functioning?
cut- what's that?
Can we get them functioning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We will.
Cool. Not a lot happening to it.
Is the plan to always have that wall for combat?
The blood gates?
Huh?
That is not the intended visual for it. That's just a placeholder.
But there will be some visual.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask about that.
Yes.
So it does sort of like put the shimmery, Bloodgate material in your face.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Which is totally a...
How do we feel? That's not a combat question, not an AI question per se, but it's definitely a combat question.
Yeah, I don't like it. We are trying to get rid of blood gates. It's weird that we have everything blood gated. I don't consider our core audience to be super combat heavy. They seem to be more narrative. So we're in the fight.
Yeah.
Amy and I just made a spawner that does not bloodgate. We are slowly getting them to not do that.
I mean, it's always a trick. Like, the final say thing is always a tricky business. Because at the end of the day, I have final say. Like, I'm the project lead. Everything I want to put my foot out and be a jerk about, I can do it. And that's just how it is. The more often I do that, and the more often I do it about small things, the worse everything gets. Big push to get fishing working in the game. Rusty proxied in like 25 different fish, and they're all in as pickups, and you can fish them out. We're going to be making some fishing hotspots and like little treasure zones and things like that. So that'll be populating all over the game.
My daughter's getting into Stardew Valley. I have to say I hate fishing now, and I don't want to see I don't want to see fishing in a video game ever again.
There's a distinct pushback against crunch.
Fishing. You're going to talk about fishing, right?
I was going to say crunch culture, but
fishing.
Or specifically when I was working on fishing, I was just like, I came on a weekend because I was behind, and I was like, I started working. I was just like, and I just realized that I really had trouble doing it because I was like, why is there a fishing mini game in this? And honestly, like there could totally be a good fishing mini game, but the thing is, it's like that needs to come out of like a very sort of Tim space.
I'm against this fishing business. Because you could think of something that's like fishing, but not the typical.
But not fishing.
Yeah, not fishing.
People are very concerned about there being fishing in the game, so I hear about it a lot. I just haven't gotten. We're gonna cut it. I haven't gotten around to cutting it just because like I've got a bigger fish to fry.
Maligula's level, like the final, like the climax of our game, that's not in the game right now. So we got to make that whole thing, and none of the bosses exist. So there's that, which we got to figure out.
And so this is sort of like my pitch for that. People also could be like, "That's terrible. We can't do this because of these reasons." But first up, like, why have the bosses? I don't know if anybody wants to dispute that. I feel like we do need them just because we have levels that have a very distinct, specific problem to them that you are meant to resolve. And so they sort of serve as narrative and gameplay peak experiences at the end of it to sort of culminate and finish things off. And several of the levels sort of have been counting on them narratively. Who does have a boss? There's the Luctopus at the end of Hollis. There's in Helmet, you fight some sort of memory of the final battle. Next most least information is Bobsy, some sort of plant-like thing. Cassie, giant paper librarian that chases you down a hallway. Compton doesn't have a boss. There was a big battle arena at the end. Tim just turned in the script and he added a boss to the Compton level.
I was just because when you had your list there, I was like, wait a minute. I was scrolling through this.
But we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. He added some sort of weird vegetable boss. I don't know.
Compton the food one?
Yes.
Compton's the food one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a food one. It's very arena-based, and there's a lot
Shouldn't dessert be the boss of a meal?
Oh.
So
We wanna do
I
the terrible
have a
thing.
question.
Yes.
So you want to do 5 bosses, plus all the other AI that's
Yes.
left.
Yes.
And
4 months.
4 months.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how we. Yeah. So
how's that schedule looking like, Andy?
For the bosses, like it's a complete question mark. There's really no like any of these things, systems being developed. I need to get some sort of estimate from people, everyone involved, to tell me like some of these things Zach's talking about, like what it would take to make some of these things happen.
Okay.
is there a way at the end of the sprint we can get to a thing that is like playable, and it may be like a giant lie, but it sort of demonstrates the intent and sort of proves out the core concepts of that boss.
All right, status updates.
Yep. So this trim is getting in. I have the railing done as well,
Ooh.
but I haven't placed that yet. We're going to need to come up with a creative solution for the floors because they're all different widths and sizes. So.
Oh, Jesus. So we're extending this by a few weeks, right? That's what you said, Jen? Who told me that? Somebody told me that?
No one. No, we if we have to, we will, but we should still have the goal of next Friday being done with this space.
Okay.
Like the whole HQ interior.
If we're gonna extend it, I
Yeah.
don't know by how much yet, and there's gonna have to be a significant amount of juggling around the rest of the milestone.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. There's a lot to do. But
Yeah.
We'll get there.
And how's morale holding up?
Morale is holding up. We're getting to the point where, you know, the tension is starting to rise. Everyone's feeling their pressure. But overall, I think everyone is still happy to be working on this. I'm trying to make sure that I'm checking in with everyone and seeing what's causing their frustrations. At the end of the day, if people are angry, it's because the process is broken. I think it's just everyone's feeling the pressure to deliver on time.
Some of these bigger levels, like HQ interior, definitely a concern for me. Like, how are we gonna have all the time to do everything that we need to and make it look good? The like rift between the designers and the artists that we had at the beginning of the project is starting to come back.
Yeah.
It's not good for morale.
It's back in full force. I mean,
I do think the strike teams are working.
Yeah. I mean, as stressful as they are, you guys are covering a huge amount of real estate in a short amount of time. And every time we do a sprint review, I'm very impressed with what I see.
Yeah.
And there are moments where like the art clicks and we all understand what we're making and we have these like wins, and we just have to keep doing that.
What? Shit's about to get crazy.
And I think that there's a lot of people really excited because we're starting to see a lot of visual development in the game, and the levels are starting to become realized for the first time. Instead of having a gray box and someone sitting over your shoulder saying, "This is going to be this," you know, it is actually that, and you can sort of start to lose yourself in the spaces now, which is really nice.
We're covering a lot of space. It's not a way that I normally work, and so I feel like I'm just introducing crazy amounts of bugs.
I have a future question about bosses. Is there any way to like make sure they kind of cut that, like keep it very small before it gets out of hand?
I'm actively watching what's going on with bosses, and I'm getting extremely nervous.
Yeah.
Jeff Lizette, I wanted to talk to you first before this gets sprung on anybody else, because I think it is going to be a bigger level art component than people were probably thinking. But I would like that the team to know, like, oh, okay, this is the plan for the boss. It's a good plan, and we're gonna figure out how to make it successful.
Like, none of our bosses work. We have 2 figured out. Both of them don't do anything. And then maybe 2 more? Maybe one of those are cut, I don't know. And then making combat fun.
And so I think the track that everyone's on right now, and I'm being perfectly honest with sort of hopefully there's a very happy ending you guys can include this with. Everyone feels like they are sort of toiling away at something that they don't have the opportunity to really make good. And I think that's the core of a lot of the bummer going on right now. Well, our big goal right now is we're trying to get that last shrine to be something that could be arted by the end of this week, because Art would like to start arting it. And in fact, Art needs to start arting it, otherwise it will not get arted.
I don't know, man. Honestly, like, after all these iterations, like, nothing seems to fit, and like everything seems way too complicated.
When is your hands off?
Basically, in the next 2 weeks, I have to like have a I mean, I don't know how realistic this is, but yeah, I think after this sprint, basically, is like when they might start going in and like actually doing some artwork in here. But that's going to be really tough to pull off. This is like the battering wing.
His world is about making these food stations, and it's has a lot of animals also incorporated. This is the battering ram, because he batters. So the batter might be glitter or like a Sherpa fabric, and we're trying to like figure that out. And water's gonna be those like we're gonna try out like flip sequins and stuff like that.
Not only because I need time to like actually finish it, but also like a lot of time to continue to test people through it. Because even when I did the designer test a few weeks ago, there were so many problems with it, and there's also a lot of like clarity issues that he brought up, which I totally understand and like agree with 100%. But just like giving players an idea of like what they're actually supposed to be doing, which is harder than it sounds sometimes.
Yeah, everyone seems in very bad spirits right now. People were out drinking a couple weeks ago. There were a ton of people just like mass like airing everything out. And so like I learned a lot of stuff, and I'm like, you guys should talk to other people.
Because like Tim just, no offense to Tim, he just doesn't know what's happening out on the floor.
Yeah.
He's not aware of these things we're talking about. But the thing I implore you to talk to him about is the design, like butting of heads.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much other people have talked about it before, like on the camera, or like how candid, like you guys are thinking people would get on that stuff. But there are definitely issues with, like, I think some of the new people who have come here have come from studios with different mentalities, and I think it is a very linear or clear delineation of roles on a project. And things happening in a certain order, with certain disciplines being absolutely first. And any time it went out of order, there became conflict, and I think that led to like morale. But I don't think it's really the Double Fine way, and certainly not a thing that most people here were used to. And I think additionally a thing that a lot of people who have ended up here from other places came here to get away from.
Because at Gearbox, things were certainly more smooth because everybody knew their role. However, I left there for a reason. Programmers were tools for the designers. I mean, you knew that from the get-go. If you had any questions about that, you were told, yes, of course. We sat on different floors. We got JIRA tickets from design. We did that work. Sometimes it made no sense to us because we had no idea what the hell we were making. And that's how they wanted it. And it, it works well for them. That's how they do. It's not where I wanted to be.
Like, we're here because we're fans. We're here because we love Double Fine games. We want to make really good Double Fine games. But we're making a narrative game.
We're making a narrative action adventure that has a bunch of different components to it, and combat is one of those components.
Combat fit more with the narrative. So yesterday during the combat meeting, and this several times has come up before, is that that Amy and I are trying to get a more narrative foundation to the combat.
And we haven't not thought about it at all. Like the enemies are attempted to be lined
We
up
haven't discussed
somewhat. Sure, as a feedback. Well, there was one round of feedback of a bunch of characters being more or less appropriate to different areas, and like that's why the Burly sensor is now introduced where the Burly sensor is, and the Nightmare got pushed out to the battle where Helmet is remembering the time that he died in this horrible battle.
What makes it really bad is I give feedback, and he gets defensive, and then he starts arguing against something I hadn't said. And then he'll go off on this really long argument about how I'm wrong. I mean, you don't need to get defensive.
Okay, I don't mean to be defensive.
It's just that, I mean, it's still not coming across as playing that it has a narrative drive to it. Because we also have that, I don't know if we'll have time to do all the things that we want to do to make it good, because we want to make it good, because it's Psychonauts 2.
And I think that's why the rest of the team is in kind of bad spirits right now, because they don't think we're having more time and they're playing the game. We're like, when is this supposed to be done? Fuck.
We might get some magical time where it's like, maybe we do finish the HQ next week.
Hey, it could happen.
So I'm not as concerned about this level as I am about the HQ interior, so.
That's good news, I think. There's like ceiling stuff that's missing. Look out, there's all that. That's all block mesh ceiling on either side of the blue. That's all block mesh. It's just a million little things that are all custom stuff. Like you just can't build these spaces with modular pieces.
No. I think those little things we can come back to, especially if the ball return
sure.
and all of
I'll
that
leave them
is-
all off.
Yeah, it's not in the trailer, right? Like,
No.
The effects look good.
That looks awesome.
This looks super good.
His eyes are milky.
His leg is hooking through his jacket.
Yeah.
Sim doesn't work in sequence, right?
Okay.
At all. It clips through right here.
That's like the easiest fucking thing in the world. It'll take me approximately 15 seconds.
We need the final animation.
It's broken as hell.
His
and then lighting path.
Feet in the eyes.
That's intended. Feet in the eyes.
We should get final sign off on what we want any additional text to say on this.
I was going to say.
Coming April 2019.
Nope.
Trailer. That's all trailer for a few.
You're making 5 trailers?
We're making 5 trailers,
That's
and we're
amazing.
gonna, trying to piece together the trailer, which is gonna come together at the last minute.
Oh my God. We're maybe like 90% of the way there. Taking a look at where we got our trailer, looking at the drab, dismal lighting that we've gotten in, and trying to bring some more focus into it. And we haven't really spent a lot of time on lighting in a lot of environments, so just trying to get it all up to speed. Actually, there is nothing outside this window. That's not actually there. It's a full cube map, so it's a 360-degree screen grab of the quarry, and then Tazio has a shader on this window that warps it and bends it out, and then nothing outside. Pretty good. I mean, for Tazio, it's pretty good.
We have this exporter issue for, we can't figure out why certain sublevels aren't being loaded when we're exporting our shots for the trailer. But I don't know, I think we'll figure it out eventually. It's just one of those things. We're also coming up on 5 o'clock. So yeah, it does feel like something that's important to have represented, even though it's annoying, man. I'm sorry. Whew.
I mean, at this point, that jet has been such a fucking pain in the ass. We should just make it.
Oh, great.
I don't understand. Why can't I get
whatever we choose, we do?
The thing that no one's talked about here is if we change. Hi, James. I think we underestimated how much work it would take to make the trailer. All right, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Why?
You have been doing nothing but trailer work for at least 4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah.
Like solid, and maybe more. The trailer wasn't the issue. I mean, it was just one thing. But these are the calls you have to make. It's like, okay, we need a trailer. We all agree that this is important. We all agree it's worth our time. So we did it, but it does come at a cost. Like, we lost at least 4 weeks of real time, maybe more, of like actual work that could have been put into the game.
I'm sleepy.
Me too. This week has been hell to sleep in with the all the smoke and everything in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye. Wear your masks.
Last area we're working on right now is the quarry. How's that going?
It's going.
We're done. What do you think?
There's a bunch of stuff missing right now. That's a surprise.
And mostly everything is represented, except for the few remaining levels that need to have their first pass of level art, which the art team is furiously working on right now.
Just starting to replace all the stuff in here. We're gonna use blocks for now, just to get it done, and then I think I just have like this area and the deep fry area left.
Okay.
That might take the whole day, and I don't know about all this other stuff that we haven't hit yet, because there's a lot of stuff still.
All right, well then just make sure that like you can complete the level, Jeremy, but
okay.
Besides that,
If
stuff
you-
is going to be in flux because that's just the way it's going to be.
But probably there's a lot still here to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
is that honey pepper boy?
Cool.
Thank God.
That's good.
All right, everyone can go back to their actual tasks.
How many more of these?
No more trailer stuff.
You've got to catch up on a Monday.
Yeah.
Now go and make the rest of the game.
Wrong. I got a new vision for this trailer.
One more time for Tim.
Well, whatever you do, just leave me out of it. Ooh, is that honey pepper boy bacon?
Beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. I like the new effects on the bacon guy coming out. Bacon, what's it called? Ford? Ford coming out of the ear.
That's Ford.
Bacon guy.
The bacon guy?
His eyes are really crooked. Bacon dude. Woo-wee. That's great. That's awesome.
Good. Come next week. We're the world shall know of our greatness.
This time next week, we'll be watching it.
Yeah.
So the trailer was in the can last week and is sent off, and everybody's approved of it, and it's locked and loaded and ready to play after 5:30 at some point during the Game Awards. We don't really know exactly when it's going to be.
Spat's going to tweet it as. Oh, we don't know when it's going to show during the show.
Yeah.
That's true. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it for Second House 2.
Do you feel like this is like, do you get to show your family or like, hey, this is what I've been doing for the past couple of years?
Yeah, I was just down there for Thanksgiving and they were asking like, are you still working on that same game? And I have to be like, yeah. And they're like, oh, is it coming out soon? And I'm like, yeah, so it's nice to finally have something that I can show them and be like, look, I'm not just fucking around.
Yeah, this is what they should nominate, is the freaking Spider Perry clip that people are going to get for taking. Oh, obviously.
No, Sonic Fox for the win.
That was the moment. It was really great because often when you make a trailer, you just sort of make the trailer and then it just goes out and it's on the internet. But doing it at the Game Awards was really suspenseful and exciting because the whole team got to sit here in our Lola lounge and wait for it to come on, and we weren't really sure where it was going to come on during the evening, and every single time they would jump to a new trailer, like, ah, is this going to be us? And so the team got very excited about it. Everybody stopped taking pee breaks. We just had to wait for it to happen.
I was down at the Game Awards last week.
What was that like to be there when the trailer hit?
Yeah, people were very excited, but it was good. A lot of other people came up and congratulated me too. And I think lots of other publishers and Sony and folks just seemed to have really good things to say about the trailer. So we were on a bunch of lists of like best trailers of the show, and I had a lot of people come up and say it was one of their favorites of the show too. So it seemed to go over well.
Awesome. Good job on the trailer, you guys. It's cool.
So there's excitement about that, but at the same time, like there's been news recently about Starbreeze that's mildly upsetting.
The big week last week, a lot of crazy stuff happened in the news. If some of you were watching, our friends at Starbreeze had an exciting. You never want actual news about you or your publisher at all, but that was exciting. From what we know, someone got arrested at Starbreeze headquarters, and someone in a CFO type person got arrested, we think, for selling their stock too close to an event that changed their stock price, which is not deemed proper. And so we think the person arrested is no one that we know, but no one knows where Bo is right now. So that's exciting. And so that's not like nice news, but we're still hoping. The word from Mikhail and Evan is that it shouldn't affect us. Once the smoke clears, this will all be fine. But it's when something weird, when stock shenanigans happen, the government comes in and puts a lawyer at your company and is like, make sure you don't spend money on things like yourself and other things like that. So they're watching how they're spending their money now, and I think, like I said, it's a great time to have an awesome trailer out there, which that even a lawyer can understand. But I think even if they're going through restructuring, we're the only thing I think that they're shipping next year. So I think that will seem pretty important as a thing to keep funding and keep going on. So I'm optimistic about that. And that's really all the Starbreeze news I have. Do you guys have any questions about that? Because it's weird.
It is weird. It is a very strange situation, and they're going through what they're going through, and they'll come out the other side of it hopefully soon. I mean, I think it probably feels more. Excuse me. Pardon me. Cut that out.
Leave that in. Like I knew everyone was invested in each other, and it could all come down, but but it seems like we're getting reassurance from Starbreeze that we're still good to go.
As far as we know, though, everything is still, all of the money that is owed to us is still set aside for us. They're supposed to loop back in like a week or two with more news. It's just Mikhail's kind of in the middle of all this stuff shaking out. So we'll know more soon.
I mean, the studio has survived for a pretty long period of time, more than most. And were you here when the layoffs happened the one time?
No, and honestly, it's probably why I'm here.
All right, welcome everyone. Art Weekly. This is the last Art Weekly before the end of the milestone.
Whoa. Oh my God. So if anything's not at alpha that you want to talk about.
Is the game going to be at alpha stage when this milestone is done?
Art-wise, I think so. It'll be, like 95% done, and then there's just gonna be a lot of polish, but just design-wise, I don't feel like the game's really there right now. I wouldn't call that alpha. Yeah. It's just really simple and really kind of broken. Yeah.
In terms of our platforming level design, we need to do a lot of iteration on that. We have a big tool set, but the platforming is very flat across the game right now. Like there's not much of an arc in terms of like you start doing something and then it gets a little harder and then you land finally and you're like, that was tough, and then you go off and do something else. Like everything tends to be pretty flat pace. There's a lot of work to do there.
There is some shit about the gameplay that is scary. And then it's actually just like, no, I want Asif for like R&D and prototyping. And I'm like, R&D and prototyping? What are we R&Ding and prototyping right now? And he's like, action paths. Like, fucking action paths?
And like that focus on action paths is just like so against everything that Psychonauts is. That's not what Psychonauts is about. That's not that, like the reason people play Psychonauts is because it's like fundamentally narratively grounded in like an idea and like a very specific and particular world that people really love. And I think that's way better.
The part of it is that no one has been playtesting the levels except for the designers amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm. And it's not until we get to a team playthrough that we have a team-wide
which is why I think there's going to be a reckoning at alpha, is because everybody's going to play through the game and they'll see what the game is.
These interviews, things like this are getting hard right now because it's like, Andy, what's going on with the project? I'm like, it's not good. I'm like, Andy, you want to interview me? Sure. Is Tim going to watch this? Velocity is a strange word, and our velocity up to this latest milestone has not been what I would hope it would be. So we're going to kind of assess, all right, this is where we came up short because we've come up short on this milestone. I mean, if we were in a position where we had to like submit this for payment, we would not get paid. If that was a thing. Fortunately, it's not. But that's a fact.
You guys have busted your ass, and we are working quite well when it comes to us hitting our times. So do not leave that meeting feel like you have failed, because the people in this room have not.
When you come in Monday, the 10th, the build will be locked. Then
Well, we'll be in soft lock, so there still will be content changes going in, but they'll be controlled. And then once we branch, and we're going to try to branch as fast as we can to get our teams working back in levels as fast as humanly possible.
Is there like where are we at for all the levels? Like, are there levels that that haven't received any art yet?
So where we are across the board is all the levels are the goal for alpha that we're supposed to hit that we're not hitting, to be honest, was to get all the white box out for all the levels.
Yeah.
And that is mostly happening. Some levels are like completely there. Some levels are like 80 to 90% there, and you can squint and you see it. There are 3 levels that will not be touched at all in terms of the white box for alpha, which is going to be Lobato, Maligula, and Bowling Forward.
Now we are looking at the point of like, all right, if we add all this stuff up that we didn't get done, on top of the stuff we knew we had to do, where does that put us? And it's like, oh, okay. What are we gonna do? How are we going to address this fact?
We got a lot to talk about. I don't know if anyone looked at the agenda I sent out, but
I did.
Okay, I wanted to go just quickly kind of a snapshot of where this milestone's at, then we'll talk about the kind of the risks moving forward in the next year and to the end of the project. Anything that's yellow is still in progress, and then bosses, this was a known. We've eliminated one more boss, we're down to 4, and this is basically where they're at. The next steps here are to try to kind of collectively decide what we can do. I mean, what our options are.
We want this much, we have enough time and money to do this much. What can we make? How do we want to make it?
So what's our ship date, Andy?
Our ship
What
date,
date are we supposed to submit?
we're supposed to submit July 28th.
Are we going to be happy with that quality bar?
That is the question to ask. Production has provided scenarios. I'm kind of here to you guys to kind of tell me my marching orders to how
It's
to
hard
proceed
to
with
visualize
this.
what that would mean.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, when you're asking me about what I thought, are you looking? What kind of solutions are you looking from me? Because are you saying, would I rather have it look ugly or cost more than we have?
Well, I guess when I I feel like
I'm just gonna be quiet till something else gets offered.
The option where,
Frankly, I would have a hard time justifying a lot more budget for this game because at this point, even if we solve all of our money problems and everything's super hunky-dory for the company, we can't continue bloating the budget from need. We have to look at other solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, we have the rest of that budget that we think we're going to get. If we don't think we're going to get that money, we should be doing much more drastic things than to ship this game, because we're just going to run out.
Happy New Year, everybody. Nice to see you all. Yay. Hello, everybody. So, anyone reading news lately? Want to share? Anyone want, like in school, would you all bring one newspaper article to share? Does anyone? Oh, don't worry about it.
It's all good, right?
Tennis. No, there's a big Eurogamer article about Starbreeze, which was very enlightening. So anyway, the article is just about all the excesses and overspending of Starbreeze over the years, which even though we knew about some of it, it was still a really entertaining read. They definitely, and Bo, for those of you who met him when he was in the office and he came to Push Up Club, he's definitely he is a larger than life kind of guy that, well, we don't know where he is right now. But any questions about that I can't answer? Give it a shot. Give it a shot. Okay. Otherwise, other business news last week?
Yeah, I guess last week we had a big marketing kickoff with them, so that was good. We hadn't talked to their marketing team for a while about specific ideas for supporting the game, and it was nice to see.
As of right now, we're still being paid by Starbreeze, but yeah, who knows what it's going to look like in 2-3 months. There's a possibility that they do fold and shut down and we have to find a new publishing partner.
We mostly focused on E3 as kind of the next big beat for Psychonauts, showing actual gameplay off. So we talked last week internally a lot about a potential idea for a demo, what that could look like.
With the team in the project, we really need to focus on making one really good thing so that everybody can point to something in the game in a level and say, that is what Psychonauts 2 is supposed to be. I understand what good looks like. I understand how to get there. So we started talking about that in parallel, and our assumption was, hey, our E3 demo and this kind of one good level thing would be the same thing.
It was an interesting decision because it's like, obviously E3 is coming up and we have plans to show the game there in a big way. We're building a big booth and it's going to be the first public demo of the game. So we want to make sure that the demo is awesome and represents what we want to ship. So we kind of do have to focus on that. And normally we would, want to make sure that that's not at the cost of the larger schedule. But we kind of also know that the larger schedule is up in the air right now until some of this financing comes in. So it's going to be really important that if things do totally fall apart and go wrong, we have something really polished to show around to potential new publishers or things like that if things go south with Starbreeze.
So, as everybody hopefully knows, so we are going to start really full steam ahead working on Lobato and making it a sort of great level that represents everything we want and hope Psychonauts 2 to be. The game is not an enjoyable experience. So how many people had not an enjoyable experience when they played it during alpha? Okay, so, yeah. And that's not great. I firmly believe we're not making a bad game. We're making a game that is bad right now, that we are going to make good, and we're going to make good through the talents and hard work of all the people in this room. And so I know there can be a lot of angst when you look at something and it doesn't seem like it's quite there, and whoever did it must have been an idiot. But that's probably not the case, and they probably would love to hear the feedback, and they're probably
Except for the idiot part.
Well, yes, not the idiot part, not the idiot part. Don't do that. Because my main thing is, like, you guys observe the team all the time. You're seeing me blather at people. You're seeing people's reactions. You're focused on people's reactions. Is there anything you've observed? Is there anything that's like, wow, you guys have a problem with this, you need to fix that, this is a weird dynamic that comes up? I'm at a point right now where I'm like second guessing a lot of my communication because I've done a lot of communication where it's like, everyone hated that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I thought that was pretty good. And you guys are watching me all the time. So, me or the team, what do you think? What just to get you out of the impartial box?
I feel like Tim being there is like an essential. Like it's every time at the Friday meeting when he's not there, I'm like, Tim, you really should be here. Like, because everyone's here for this except noticeably you're not there.
Yeah. So I'm hoping. I mean, hoping with launching into Lobato, the good level project with Lobato, getting him more regularly, like playing the game with the team, providing feedback to the team.
Natural moment, natural moment.
Looking at your belly.
So Lobato is the intro of the game, as many of you know. So you start out in this office, and as Lobato is realizing that you're inside his own brain, the office starts to deconstruct and turn into more of what we're calling a tooth hell. Let's see, you're gonna
zipper mouth.
You got a zipper mouth that you're gonna TK. There's like a mouth and a uvula that Sasha teaches you to side blast the uvula.
And so really trying to like do a little bit more in this level to have that kind of playable surrealism that we want to have in the rest of the game to sort of set the tone for it. Does anybody have questions or anything at this point? No questions?
No questions. I think I should say, because I think a lot of people will ask, what does this mean for our schedule? And there's some questions that only I can answer about the schedule because it gets into how much money does the project have, And so I think it seems weird to not be able to really answer that question fully because we currently don't have the money for that extra time, and that's really a weird position to be in. But it's a position that we've been in many, many times before, and it's kind of an almost steady state for us, and it's fine. But getting the rest of the money for the project is what Greg is doing full time all the time now. But the main focus for everybody now is just to prove to ourselves that the game is fun. I think we have to really prove to ourselves that we can make a really great level that we all love. Because if we don't have that feeling, like if we don't think the game is going to be fun, I don't think any of the other stuff matters. Like I don't think the schedule or anything else matters if we don't think the game is fun. And I think all the hard work is for nothing if we don't think this game is going to be great. So I think this is our chance to prove to ourselves that it is going to be great, and I think it will be. Yay!
Yeah, so the focus is really on making this thing something amazing, and as amazing as it deserves to be, with all of the creativity and passion and work that people have put into all the stuff that is in the game right now over the last, depending on how long you've been on the project, anywhere up to, what's today?
February 22nd?
Oh, it was my first day 3 years ago. So I started on this 3 years ago.
Really?
Yes. That was my start date.
That
February
was
22nd.
That was a setup.
No, it was not. It was actually.
This whole meeting.
This
whole meeting was a setup for that.
Yeah, look at that. So
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. I remember that because that was my quit date for another game job. That was my quit.
Ominous.
But no, so it's been 3 years since I came, and it was just me and Tim on the project. And I know people have poured so much passion and fantastic ideas, and ideas that have been thrown out or reworked or redone or whatever. But the source material has just so much of everyone's passion and so much of everyone's fingerprints on it, and just really want to take the time to actually let all of that shine through and to get everybody focused on making it great. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Tim is like, people don't seem happy. And he's like, I said,
Yeah.
Tim is trying to reach out to people. Tim is trying to go to lunch with people. And because if there's anyone in this building who can address morale problems the best, it's going to be Tim.
Yeah.
You, sir.
Hi. If we're not happy with it.
Yeah, like if there's
That's
too
a
many
very
bugs, if it's held
serious
together with
conversation.
Scotch tape, it's something that's not up to
fun.
our quality. There's a lot at stake with our reputation.
It's really surprising to me how much he doesn't know about
Yes.
stuff. And I'm like, well, I get you're in the office a lot of the time, and I always assume people talk to him when they're that unhappy, but they don't.
The outcome of you not having any mental energy really sucks, because then you can't use any of your powers.
So what if there were an easy way for you to get more mental energy?
In a combat scenario where I'm trapped in a room,
then what's the point of having it?
It's managing it. I mean, it's the same thing sort of with health. When you're low on health, there should be things that you can do to try to get more health, and you're going to run over there and pick up, and we have healing items, and mini games have that as a way to sort of allow players to self-balance.
Yeah, you don't
over
need to
time.
tell me about this.
Okay, I'm not trying to.
There's finger pointing happening and stuff, and it actually surprised me because of the amount of kind of negativity and the low morale around Alpha felt really okay. I see not every studio is perfect here. No studios, safe from this experience.
And I would like all of us on this team to be able to work better together with a lot more collaboration and trust.
But that has to come from them too.
Certainly. I 100% agree, but that doesn't mean that we cannot exhibit that ourselves either. We're certainly getting to the point of the project in which, if we have standoffs or just people just not working well together, things are gonna get tougher, and I kind of don't want it to go that way.
It just sucks coming into work. I have anxiety attacks before having combat meetings. My heart just starts beating really fast. I start getting dizzy, and I have to spend time to calm myself down. I think a lot of people are hoping that Tim steps in and saves the day.
He's like, I realize that things aren't going great and some people are pretty frustrated. What's the deal and what do I need to know about this?
There's a separate axis here that what we put out in front of people actually has an effect on the studio and the way people will see this game.
We need everyone sort of going in the same direction.
Yeah, that's too narrow.
Too what?
It's too narrow.
Too, huh?
It's too narrow.
Too narrow.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
It's a very compressed space right now.
Yeah, no, I know, and what I'm saying is that the compressed space is cool.
Because we run into the reality of game development that shit's hard, and I don't think we've been well enough prepared for actually implementing the version of the game that we want to implement. And that's also the thing, is because we start from the wrong end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was the exact conversation that Anna was having, and the reason that she left. You're making it much harder for yourself, essentially, because you're fighting fundamentally what's good about the type of games that the studio produces, right? Mm-hmm. You're fighting the nature of the studio, and you're making it something completely different.
This is the meeting you guys should sit in. Sounds like no cameras, but you should come.
What will you say in the FIG update?
Hey, Psycho backers. It's me, Tim.
Is this your right now?
Zach's not here, but he has moved on to other things, and we wish him well. He definitely worked really hard on this project and made a huge impact. But now I am the creative director of this project, and things are going to be different. It's not going to be a psychic game. I don't know. I think it will be something like that. Someone got arrested at Starbreeze headquarters.
There's a possibility that they do fold.
Really full steam ahead working on Lobato.
I think we have to really prove to ourselves that we can make a really great level that we all love.
Tim is like, people don't seem like happy.
There's like finger pointing happening and stuff.
I mean, you don't need to get defensive.
Or just people just not working well together, things are gonna get tougher.
I think a lot of people are hoping that Tim steps in, saves the day.
I came in late to the meeting where Tim was telling everybody. Like I was actually walking up to see Lee, and Monica was like, "You should go in there." And that's kind of how I found out. And then like Carol took me in her office and like spelled it all out. So kind of how I found out there. I was actually walking up to see Lee, and Monica was like, "You should go in there." And that's kind of how I found out. And then like Carol took me in her office and like spelled it all out. So I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to be that. I understand it. It's something that nobody wants to have happen, but it's got to happen. I think we've been trying. I think there's been a few things that's been going on where it's been trying to work that out. And I think it got better for a little while. I don't know what that's about. Like, for some reason, it just started getting bad again.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. There's so many people here. It's so nice to see you. Hi. Hello. So just to start off first, I think not everybody may have heard, but most people have heard we had some big staff changes on Psychonauts 2 team. Zach McClendon is no longer the project leader of Psychonauts, and he's no longer an employee at Double Fine, and that was a pretty big thing to do on Friday. But there had been some very negative and bad things going on with some unhappiness, and a lot of people know the situation going on in Psychonauts, and we had tried to fix it for many, many months. And but we tried to do everything we can to rehabilitate the situation and make it better, but it wasn't working. It was really putting the project in danger in a lot of ways with E3 coming up. We really wanted to make sure that the team was able to do its the best work and make a really great level that we're going to show there. So we took that step, and it's done.
Do you feel like if you were more involved and not stuck having to write so much, if things would have played out differently?
I don't know, like, starting the company, I was doing all the games myself. You just do one game at a time. And I felt people wanted to grow beyond where they were in their jobs, so we started doing multiple projects where other people were given chances to run the projects. And that was an advice that actually Ron Gilbert had. He's like, you want to get to the point where other people are making games for you, like he did with Humongous. And so I was like, that sounds good. And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. Like I think in the case of Lee Petty, I think he runs his projects really great and I don't have to do the thing. On Rad, it's looking amazing and I don't have to stick my nose. If I stick my nose in, it's just to sabotage it because I'm jealous. And it is going great. And we've had other projects where that wasn't the case. And sometimes I feel like the most stress I've had at the project was, the most stress I've had at the company is trying to, influence a project that I'm not really creatively controlling and just try and influence it indirectly because, you only have so much control. But if you can build that capacity, then you can build a company that's capable of making multiple games. And we've done that a few times. And sometimes it's more of a struggle than others. But I don't know, I've come to value my own way of running a project. Like I feel more comfortable with the slightly chaotic way that I run a project. Like I feel like there is value to that. And I think going forward, we're not going to immediately jump into reinserting any sort of leadership on that team. We're going to step back and I think the team's in a good position to be self-organized for a while. A lot of stuff that it's doing are on track. And it can go with just us stepping up a little bit to help out where needed, with me getting more involved. I always say, when people ask for advice, and I always talk about advice about how to start a company. I talk about getting the most creative people, and the most smartest people, and the best people together, and then just getting out of their way. I think that's really important. You have to kind of get out of their way and let them work together. For some of you, that might lead a lot of questions, and I'm here, and everyone's here, and Carol's here. If you want to ask those questions, but other than that, it's obviously a big deal and not to be taken lightly, but hopefully in the end much better for the project. So that happened. Anyone want to ask anything about that now? Well, I'm standing here awkwardly in front of you. It's fine.
We believe in the team and can't wait to see what you guys do. And this is hopefully the chance everybody gets to act creatively and be the professionals in your discipline that you wanted to be, and it's going to be really good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Psychonauts news. Let's talk about business. Hey, Greg, follow up that.
I will. We had a good call.
Right now, we're still being paid by Starbreeze, but who knows what it's going to look like in 2-3 months once their reconstruction period ends.
Starbreeze.
Yeah.
Are we a company? I don't know. Tune in June in Bangersea Court in Sweden to find out.
Yeah.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
But there's just so many potential ways that this could go right now that I feel like we have to kind of just behind the scenes work on bringing as much money to the project as we can and hope that we can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, Greg and I that's what we're doing is trying to secure funds to finish the game. He's on the phone, hustling. There's a lot of deals in the air. Some could happen if we go one way, some could happen if we go another way. So just a lot of spinning plates in the air right now. It's a little stressful. He's a little stressed out. You see his hair all pulled in one direction, that's he's been pulling on it.
But it's a weight I proudly shoulder, knowing that there's so much great stuff happening within the walls, and that we have a super talented team on it that's making awesome stuff. And so being able to shield them from that a little bit so they can make something special, I think has been a pretty worthy cause.
Mm-hmm.
The other conversations are more acquisition based. So that's kind of a whole different thing. And that would mean somebody swooping in and buying the studio for rights to our entire catalog of games and anything we do going forward. So they would just be paying our salaries and payroll, and we would get to focus on making games. The first person that approached us about this is Microsoft. And they have been doing this recently with a lot of studios. But we're talking about investment deals with them, and for them, their big reason is Game Pass, which is kind of like their version of Netflix. It's like a streaming platform where, it's not streaming, it's a subscription platform where you pay $10, although like right now I think it's $1 a month for a host of games, like a couple hundred games, and they want to get like our whole catalog on there and our future games too. So talking about a big chunk of investment for that.
There's also been talk about acquisition.
Wait, you gotta wait till I drink some coffee before you ask again. Keeping in mind you're right in front of me.
Yeah, so acquisitions.
No, independent till death. Never acquired. Unless with a lot of money.
Is there like an ideal party that you, in your heart, would like to be paired with?
Ideal party?